Well, Screen Gems, our publisher, sent Tommy and I over to meet with a husband and wife team, Ted and Betty Corday, who were very famous soap opera producers. They'd gone way back into the days of radio and now had several television daytime dramas going. So they wanted to come up with they were doing a new daytime soap called Days of Our Lives, and they needed a theme song. And they told us they had just gotten back from New York where they'd seen Fiddler on the Roof and were very enamored with it, and they loved a song in that show called Sunrise Sunset. And they said, could you do something, with that kind of a feel? And being the short order cooks that we were, we said, sure, no problem, we'll give you a Sunrise Sunset backwards, whatever we have to do. So we did. We fashioned something with the minor key chords from that song, and we thought it was pretty catchy, and we presented it to them, demoed it and presented it, and they hated it. And so we said, well, give us another chance. And so we went and wrote something else that we just thought would be good and presented it. They hated it. And so by this time, when we got the message they weren't going to accept the second song, Tommy was getting, we had no idea that this song would be on the air 5 days a week for 40-some years. And we didn't know what it was going to be. So Tommy was saying, these people don't know what they want. We're a bit too busy for all of this. Forget that. So I said, well, I got one last idea before we abandon it. Why don't we go in this little studio where they have a Hammond B3 organ, and I'll just sit at the organ and play straight on the tape stuff that sounds to me like what I used to hear on my mom's soap operas on the radio when I was growing up. It just sounds like soap opera music. So I did that. I played, and Tommy made us a few little suggestions, and we just straight on the tape, and that's what's been running as the theme song for Days of Our Lives for 40-some years. Very surprised with the longevity, and pleasantly so, of course. That's another song that gets used a lot in television, background scenes like the Close Encounters of the Third Kind I can think of, or the scene in 9 to 5 where they tied up the mean boss and but they gave him turned the television on for him to watch, but put it on soap operas, things like that. It just keeps bouncing back. And we actually wrote we wrote a theme for all the main characters and all of the background music for the show in the beginning. But many years later, the Cordays retired and eventually passed on, and their son took over ownership of the show and the production of the show. And so he replaced most of our music with music that he co-wrote with others, and which is, of course, more up-to-date and hip for today's audience. But to his credit, and we're very thankfully so, he has always kept the original theme song just the way it was. When MacDonald Carey spoke those words over the opening of the hourglass, these are the days of our lives.
A funny story about Days of Our Lives is when Tommy and I were dating, and he was, telling me about, he found out I was this big, huge Days of Our Lives fan. I mean, avid, every day watch this show. And he was like, I wrote the theme. And I went, right. I thought he was just trying to impress me. Of course, later I did find out that he did write the theme when he proved it to me on the credits. He told me the story of how when he and Bobby Hart were writing the song that he was just like getting so frustrated. They had turned the song in 4 times and got refused, and he was like, for God's sake, this song's only going to be on for like 30 minutes for 6 months, forget it. And of course, Bobby Hart came to the rescue and calmed the situation down and said, no, let's just try it again. And here we are like 40 plus years later, airing around the world with a huge fan base and being used in shows like, I was really shocked, like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and the Joy, I think, what was it, the Joy Luck Club, and 9 to 5, so that's pretty cool. And I remember we'd be watching the show and Tommy would like just fall to his knees and go, oh, thank you that I didn't get in my own way, because he really wanted to just like chuck the whole thing. So here we are 40 years later, and Days of Our Lives is still ticking away.